One. Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Lisa Houle and I'm with Enterprise and Advanced Education, and I am pleased to be the host and the moderator for you today for our webinar on the Industrial Hemp License Application Simplified. I have Jan Slaski on my left, and is it my left? And so he will be the presenter today. So we just wanted to cover a little bit of information. First off, information about the Alberta Biomaterials Development Centre, and they are a partnership of 5 government organizations, including the webinar organizer, Alberta Agriculture and Rural Development. And ABDC offers a single portal for access to Alberta's biomaterial expertise and capacity. The team provides services and equipment to assist with supply chain development, business development, and innovating and commercializing products made from Alberta's agriculture and forestry biomass. So just wanted to give you a little bit of information about that. We have been working with the Alberta Biomaterials Development Centre and staff up in the Northwest in Grand Prairie, and hosting some informative seminars on hemp and flax. And that's really how this webinar came about, because what we heard was one of the challenges to growing hemp is actually completing the application. So we wanted to provide a tool for producers that they could use and learn how to just kind of go through the application, just to really remove that challenge from it. So we've really been doing a lot of collaborative work with Enterprise and Advanced Education, with Alberta Agriculture, the staff at the Biomaterials Development Centre, and Jan, etc. So just wanted to give you a bit of background on that. And so a couple of things about the webinar. What we'll do is we will ask that questions are held until the end. There is a box on your screen at the bottom that is called Questions for the Presenters. So please feel free to enter your questions into that space. And if it's a question for clarification purposes, we will gladly address those as we go throughout the course of the webinar. If it's a question more so perhaps on background, or an overall question about hemp, perhaps markets, those kinds of things, we'll look at holding those until the end. Something else that we want to make sure that you are aware of is we will be conducting a few polls today as well. They are embedded in the presentation, and so what we will do is we will let you know when they're up, give you some time to answer the polls, and then we'll broadcast the results so that we can, just try to get a bit of benchmark information on interest in hemp and a couple of other questions. So just so that you know, that's kind of what's going on. And just I'm just going to advance this slide here. So, and also thank you and a shout out to Growing Forward 2, the funder of our webinar. Growing Forward 2 is a federal provincial program which provides programs and services to advance Alberta's agriculture industry. There are a number of programs. You can see them up on the slide, and in the Growing Forward 2 suite, there are a number of programs to provide services and financial assistance to Alberta farmers and agribusinesses, including business and marketing plan development, equipment purchase and installation, and skills development. So we encourage you to have a look at their website for more details on that, and want to thank them again for being the sponsor for this event. And with that, we are going to get started. And I am going to turn this over to Jan, and we will commence the presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. The title, once again, of our today's presentation is the Industrial Hemp License Application Simplified. My name is Jan Slaski. I am a senior researcher with Alberta Innovates Technology Futures out of Vegreville, Alberta. I'm also sitting on board of directors of Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, and I'm representing our province on this board. I've been working with hemp I'm a researcher, so I've been working at this capacity with hemp for last 11 years. So today we'll be talking about the industrial hemp application. And this webinar is meant for individuals who are considering growing this crop for the first time. So it's meant for the guys, primarily growers, who want to try out this fantastic crop, and they want to make money. So specifically, what I'm going to do during this seminar, I will explain basic terminology and concepts that are required for successful completion of this application. And then I will discuss two different crop production and land ownership scenarios that you may face or encounter in your production and when you're filling up your application. Okay, so first we'll be explaining terminology, then we'll be discussing the license with two different production scenarios, most common. So before we start, I want to tell you that hemp is a multi-purpose crop, and why I mentioned all this information that I'm providing you with is pertinent to a successful completion of this license application. So hemp, first of all, is a source of fiber, and this stalks or straw of hemp contains fiber, actually contains two types of fiber of different chemical and physical properties that have different industrial applications. And also hemp generates grain that is source of oil and protein. And actually now in Canada, the farmers are growing hemp, 90+% of them are growing hemp to generate grain for oil and protein production. So keep in mind, hemp is a multi-purpose crop. You can grow it for fiber, you can grow for grain, and you can grow it for both. Okay, before we start, we have already the first quiz or first poll. And the question that I want to ask you is, acreage of industrial hemp in Canada in 2013 was A, 52,000 acres, B, 67,000 acres, C, 159,000 acres, and D, 26,000 acres. We are waiting. We are getting answers. Please guess or provide educated information or answer. Okay,
I think we're good.
No, we are still. I still see numbers changing. We see the numbers. You cannot see our your numbers. This is really exciting.
They're changing.
They're changing. Or are you changing your minds? You're guessing, or please don't browse internet. This information was released only 2 weeks, or actually 10 days ago, the final numbers for this year. Okay, I think that we have consensus. Okay.
Broadcast?
Yes, please, you can broadcast. Okay, so these are your answers. Almost half of you provided the answer D, which is 26,000 acres. 15% were very optimistic and said that it's almost 160,000 acres. No, we are not there yet. Over 1/3 provided the right answer. The right answer, the acreage of hemp in Canada in the year 2013 was 67,000 acres. Okay, so not bad, not bad. The first quiz, I would say that it's quite well taken. And please keep this in mind. With your interest, uh, you guys want to enter this industry or try to grow hemp. Hopefully, we'll have this number 67,000 acres even higher. And just to let you know that hemp production or hemp acreage in Canada is growing rapidly. A year ago, we would be probably in the neighborhood of 52,000 acres. This year, we increased acreage dramatically. Okay, so let's move on. Before we start talking about license application, I want to provide you with some definitions that are really critical for understanding of the license application completion. So first, what is the seed? And I'm providing you with definition, and bear with me. Seed is any part of industrial hemp plant that is represented, sold, or used to grow a plant. So seed has to be of pedigree status. It has to be certified, registered, or foundation. So this is the seed as defined for the purposes of this license application. What is viable grain? In the form that you probably already reviewed, you will find a term viable grain. Viable grain is viable cane of industrial hemp that is not represented, sold, or used to grow a plant, but it's used for processing. And here I highlighted these two most important differences. Remember, seed is used to grow a plant. You put in the ground and has to be of pedigree status. Viable grain, this is what you're harvesting and will be used for processing. Okay, we are talking about license application. So a quick short background of why we have to fill out application forms. Hemp is a licensed crop. Probably you grow different crops. You grow canola, wheat, barley, and you name it. Hemp is different. Hemp is a licensed crop. On March 12, 1998, the industrial hemp regulations came into effect, and these regulations permitted growers to cultivate industrial hemp under license. And I want to draw your attention to the to this web page. Please get familiarize yourself. Pull out this web page. Pull out this document, because before you sign off on the dotted line on the last page of this license application, you will certify that you're familiar with this industrial hemp regulation. This is really critical to get this document and read it and understand it, because you will be signing that you understand what you are signing. One more important point in here: growers in Canada are allowed to grow industrial hemp under cultivation. Growers down south, our next door neighbors in the USA, are not allowed to cultivate industrial hemp. Federal law bans them to grow industrial hemp, process and conduct any activities with industrial hemp. In some states already trying to legalize industrial hemp, but this this process is only started only a few months ago. Here in Canada, in North America, we are primary hemp growers, and as a matter of fact, we are one of the largest growers of industrial hemp in the world, with the 67,000 acres. Remember, okay. So hemp is a licensed crop, as I said. And is Office of Controlled Substances with Health Canada administers the regulatory approval process for commercial production of industrial hemp. So remember, Office of Controlled Substances, and I will be referring to this later on, with Health Canada is the office that regulates and issues licenses for industrial hemp. So we're talking that we need to grow hemp, we need a license. So what this license is required for? All activities related to the possession, production, sale, distribution of industrial hemp, and also importation and exportation of hemp require a license. So pretty much whatever you do with industrial hemp, you need a license for. with some exceptions that I will be talking momentarily. This is really, really important point that I'm going to talk about now. Licenses must be obtained before starting of any regulated activities, which I mentioned seconds ago. Before you put seeds in the ground, you have to obtain a license. Why I'm telling you this? Quite often I'm getting a phone call in mid-May. I see that my wheat, now I want to seed my industrial hemp. So what shall I do? You have to wait a year because as per the industrial hemp regulations, you cannot start any of these activities with industrial hemp unless you have the license. So the farmers go further. Okay, so I will submit this application and in the meantime I will seed my hemp. Not at all. Submission of application doesn't mean that you can seed plant deal with industrial hemp. It means that you have to get an email from Office of Controlled Substances and printed copy of your license. Then you can legally grow industrial hemp under license. Okay, keep this in mind. This is really, really important. Okay, so we're talking about industrial hemp for so long. So what's the definition of industrial hemp according to the industrial hemp regulations? According to this very important document that I want you to extract from the internet and read and familiarize and understand. Okay, industrial hemp definition: the plants and parts plants of genera cannabis, the leaves and flowering heads of which contain less than 0.3% of THC. THC is this narcotic substance. Long name is tetrahydrocannabinol. Remember, plants and parts of plant that contain less than 0.3% of THC. But also, industrial hemp, this definition includes all derivatives of such plants, as mentioned, or parts of plants. For example, leaves. For example, if you want to collect leaves and extract essential oils from hemp leaves, this is also parts and this derivatives also fall into this category of industrial hemp, and also derivatives of non-viable cannabis seeds. For example, if you want to press oil from hemp, it also falls into this definition of industrial hemp as defined by the industrial hemp regulations. Okay, so now I mentioned that there are some exemptions. So there are a few parts of hemp they are not regulated by industrial hemp regulations. First of all, non-viable seeds. Non-viable seeds are not regulated. However, if you press oil, if you derive some products from them, like protein powder, hemp hearts, or oil, they fall into a definition of industrial hemp. Non-viable seeds that cannot grow are not regulated by industrial hemp regulations. Mature industrial hemp stalks that don't include leaves, flowers, seeds, or branches are also not regulated by industrial hemp regulations. This is really important because look at these bales in here. This is our field of industrial hemp that was baled, and this bales contain seedless, leafless stalks of industrial hemp. This bales, this hemp straw, as long as it doesn't contain leaves and seeds, is not regulated. And finally, if you decorticate or separate fiber, there's two types of fibers that I was talking about, and generate long fiber or short fiber. Fiber is also derived from these stalks, is also not regulated. Okay, so keep in mind we have three non-regulated hemp parts as per industrial hemp regulations. Okay, we have second poll, actually poll number one. The first was quiz. The first poll is, have you ever seen a commercial field of industrial hemp? And they're very simple answers, yes or no. That was a very simple question. Yes, please provide your answers. How are we doing? 50-50 split, almost. Okay.
I think everyone's answered now.
Yes, I guess that, Lise, can you please reveal the results? Excellent. So we have half of you that have already seen commercial fields of industrial hemp, and the other half, roughly, haven't seen. Welcome, all of you who have never seen industrial hemp. Yet you're interested in this industry. You're interested in opportunities that this crop might bring. Okay, excellent. So now we know who is sitting and who is watching this webinar. Welcome, first timers, and this is really great because, as I said, this webinar is primarily meant for those who want to enter this industry. Okay, if you want to enter this industry, you have to be, first of all, eligible to apply for the license. And who is eligible? Applicant who resides in Canada. Why this requirement is so important? Because we are getting people coming from other countries. For example, from China. We have entrepreneurs, farmers from the United States. For example, particularly from those states bordering Canada. Who want to grow industrial hemp in our country. As I mentioned, they cannot do it in the States. No, the eligible person for this license is a Canadian resident. The other requirement, if you want to enter this industry, or it means to apply for the license, is minimal field area is limited or restricted to 4 hectares or 10 acres. You have to grow industrial hemp at least at 4 acres, 4 hectares or 10 acres. And again, I'm talking about cultivation of hemp for industrial applications. Okay, so this restriction was imposed to minimize access or influx of people who would try to grow, just like a small acreages. And if you grow small acreage, it means that you're not serious about the business. The other requirement is distance of hemp field from the school or other facility frequented by the minors. 1 kilometer. Here in Alberta, probably is not a problem, but in Ontario, where with higher population density, farms are located quite often in the proximity of schools and other places frequented by the minors, at least 1 kilometer. And the fourth basic requirement is you have to, as I said, you have to cultivate variety that is on the list of approved cultivars. So you cannot go to your neighbor who happens to have some hemp seeds and ask him to share some seeds. The cultivar has to be, first of all, of the pedigree status, and secondly, has to be on the list of approved cultivars. And this list is published typically January by Health Canada, and the link to this list is provided on the slide. Okay, I promised, so this is introduction. Now we know about what is required to apply for the license. Now, as I promised, we'll be discussing 2 cultivation scenarios. First of all, we'll be discussing end use of the crop. In my second slide, I mentioned that hemp can be grown for grain, or for stems, or for fiber, or for both. So we'll be we'll be growing hemp cultivar Finola for grain. And we will be also growing, on the different side, we'll be growing cultivar Alyssa for fiber. And by the way, both these cultivars are on the list of approved cultivars as presented on the previous slide. So this is one, different crops, different cultivars for different end uses. Now, land ownership. We will be applying, or this fictional applicant will be applying for a crop that will be seeded on the owner's farm. And also, they run out perhaps of land base, and they will be renting land from a neighbor. Okay, this is quite typical scenario here in Alberta. Okay, without further ado, now we'll start filling out our application. So, as I assume all of you are first-time applicants, so you have to check off this box. No, you haven't been licensed before. Now, the second box is enhance. You don't have to fill up this box because you don't have a file number with Health Canada. Next box is really important. This you have 4 options. You can apply as an individual. You can apply as a cooperative, corporation, or partnership. As you might notice, I highlighted and checked off individual applicant. Even if you're a part of a cooperative or corporation, my advice would be apply as an individual. I talked to people from hemp industry in Canada. They strongly recommend not to go this corporate cooperative route. It is possible, but it requires, it's really a demanding process because, as you can read in this gray box, you have to provide information for all your partners, directors, and officers with the cooperative or corporation. Please, apply as an individual. And of course, yes, Lee.
We have a question from
Yes.
Francie, and she has asked if we could show the approved cultivar website again, but she can't read the second line, so if you could just move it higher.
Okay, I will.
Oh, there we go. So in response to that, sorry, Francie, we will have the PowerPoint available at the end for download, and the link will be active in it, so you can go straight there.
Absolutely. All this presentation is going to be available in a form of handouts at the conclusion of this webinar. Okay. So you will have everything what I'm talking about now. Okay, so I encourage you to apply as an individual, hence you don't have to fill out this box, register name of corporation. Okay, so now let's look at this applicant, this fictional applicant. Our applicant is Miss. You can check off salutation. Last name is Doe, and first name is Jane, and the second name is Sandra. Sandra is Miss, so you have to check off gender is female, and Jane Doe is a pretty young woman, born 24 years ago. Why I mention this? Quite often, and I spoke to a Hemp Canada office, quite often people put on their application here, instead of birth of the applicant date, they put day of application. Don't make this mistake. Reveal your date of birth, please. Okay, so next box, that's very simple. You have to provide a mailing address, including PO box if applicable. Jane Doe lives on 2550 Willow Road. You have to provide your mailing address. Jane lives in a fictional Spruceville town in Alberta, and her fictional postal code is H3M9PO. Telephone number, fax number, and email address. Fax number, if applicable. These days, I realize that very many people rely on the internet. Internet is a really good way to communicate with Health Canada office. Okay, so this is bottom part of page 1. So we stopped here and we provided email address. Okay, preferred language of communication. I assume that majority of us in Alberta, including Jane Doe, will prefer to be contacted via email, and English is a preferred language. Next box is really, really important. I want to draw your attention. Next box is criminal record check. You have to, as a licensed person who applies for the license, you have to provide criminal record check from our CMP. You have 3 options. Health Canada provides you with 3 options. Option number 1, original of criminal record check is submitted with the application. What does it involve? You have to go to your local RCMP detachment, pay $25, I think now, fill out a form, and they will do a criminal record check. You have to get back to the detachment a week later. They will issue an original document stating that you are stating your status of criminal record check, and you can attach this original to the application. Option number 2, you can ask our CMP to do the same trick, check your criminal record background, and they will send this document directly to Health Canada office. However, you may notice that I checked off box number 3, which is, and we'll be discussing this later, consent for criminal record check to permit Health Canada to initiate criminal record check through our CMP. What does it mean? We'll be discussing this Appendix III. You don't have to go to our CMP detachment. You don't have to pay money. You're just simply giving consent to Health Canada to do a criminal record check. This is what I recommend. Okay, so we are done with page 1. Now we are at at page 2, a very important page. Here, what we are doing, remember our cultivation and land ownership scenarios. We will be cultivating industrial hemp. In this first case, it will be cultivar finola. As I said, a cultivar finola is meant to be cultivated for viable grain, and we will be growing this finola on on land that is owned by the applicant. Here in this column, I checked off viable grain. However, once you harvest viable grain, you will also generate some fiber. You will have some straw. So I also indicate, or Jane also indicated that she also will be cultivating hemp on 28 hectares. Mind you, all these numbers go in hectares. And the total of cultivation will be also 20 hectares, right? So Jane also indicated that provided legal land description where this cultivar finola for grain will be grown on, and she also checked off the box GPS coordinates and map is attached. We'll discuss this momentarily. And by the way, of course, on the top of the page, Jane has to provide her first and the last name. Okay, so this is on site number 1. Jane grows hemp for the grain. On site number 2, Jane is cultivating cultivar Alyssa, fiber type high biomass producer cultivar Alyssa, and she grows 100 hectares of it for, as I said, for fiber. So it means that she will be harvesting this cultivar before flowering, before a grain is set, because she will be growing for a textile company, and fiber has to be harvested before seeds are set. Therefore, she is not reporting any viable grain. She will be growing 100 hectares of Alyssa, and again, she ran out of land base. So she approached her neighbor named Gregory Peck, who owns the land. Okay, and she checked the box of land is owned by, not by herself, but by the other owner. And again, she's providing GPS coordinates and maps. And this Alyssa for fiber will be grown on site number 2. Okay, again, Jane will provide GPS coordinates and maps, and they will have to be attached to the original application. Speaking about maps, here I'm providing an example of a map. Maps can be, this one was probably hand-drawn, but you also can use county maps. You also can use Google Maps. And what is important, this map is for inspectors that will come to inspect, to visit your hemp field. For THC samplers, will be collecting THC leaf samples for analysis. So on this map, even if you do it by hand, you have to indicate several few important features. They have to have few important features. A compass showing where's north. Person has to know how to orient this map. Highways, roads, and boundaries. How to get, here is this particular property, this industrial hemp field as presented in here, is next to Highway 51. Highway 51 is marked. Surrounding forages, fields, sands, areas, bushes, shrubs. It has to be also indicated on the map. And finally, water bodies, rivers, streams, lakes. Here we have River Eagle or something like that, and it's clearly indicated. So again, a few options. You can do it by hand. Many people these days use Google Maps and then zoom in and show where field is located. I saw some people were using satellite maps. You can use county maps. But as long as all this information is provided, and as long as person can know how to get what highway used to access your field. Okay, we're talking about maps, and remember, Jane also mentioned that she will provide GPS coordinates. A few notes how to take and GPS coordinates. You know, just if you have a square or rectangular field, that's very simple. 4 corners, GPS coordinates for 4 corners. However, life is not always easy. Sometimes you have irregular shape fields. So like in this case, we have Jane has a field that is of irregular shape. So she has to take GPS coordinates in this 5 corners or 5 points, right? And mind you, this field was there was a river going across her property. So if these 2 fields are visually or obviously separated, you have to consider as 2 separate sites as far as hemp license application is concerned. So you have to indicate site A and site B, and site B has to be at least 4 hectares. So if you have, you know, just like a small chunk of land and it's less than 4 hectares, don't bother to grow hemp, and don't bother to ask for license, apply for the license. Okay. And next, we are heading to page 3. Okay, so we know what where Jane is growing her hemp. So now, what she is going to do with this hemp? First of all, she has to purchase seed from of certified or pedigree seed. So she will have to store this seed when arrives. She will be storing the seed on her farm, and she has to provide address. As long as the address where the seeds are stored is the same as a farm address, you can cut and paste. If your seeds, you have your bins somewhere else, not on your farm property, you have to provide address where the seed is going to be stored. Okay, so she will be storing seed that is going to be shipped to her to do spring seeding, and she also checked off that she will be storing grain, because Jane is hoping, in case of finola, to have a bumper crop of finola grain. So she is checking off that grain will be stored on this property. And she will be storing, but she also will be selling, hopefully making lots of money on selling finola seeds. So she will be distributing the seeds. So she checked off distribution, and she will be distributing finola or hemp grain. Okay, and I also want to draw your attention to this box in here, records storage site. All these activities, acquisition of seeds, distribution of seeds, number of acres, have to be stored. It used to be pretty much, in the past, people stored hard copies of all these documents, including hemp license. Now, very many people use, particularly larger hemp growers, they also have electronic versions. So if you have this information in your computer on farm, you have to indicate where the records of hemp are stored. Okay, this box also indicates or provides several other options. You can import or export hemp seed grain or seed. For the first timers, as you are, and half of you have never seen industrial hemp field, I discourage you from importing and exporting hemp, and I will explain you why. You can also, you can apply for a license to process industrial hemp on your farm. Then you have to go to section 5. This license application form provides also opportunity for laboratories that want to test the viability. You're not going to do it. And you can produce the license also is meant for those who want to apply for production of derivatives. As a first-timers, I assume and I encourage you not to do it for the first time. Okay, so let me scroll a bit down to the bottom of page number 3, and I said that I will discourage you from doing this importation and exportation activities because it requires extra paperwork and extra registration. You have to be registered with Canadian Seed Institute as an authorized importer. And if you want to process the seeds, you have to have registration for seed establishment. So this is more complicated. And as I said, this webinar is for the first timers. So I discourage you to go this route. If you're truly interested, by all means, you can approach me or the person that I will be indicating in few slides. Okay. So this is sample 4, and as I said, I'm discouraging you to proceed to process industrial hemp, again for the reasons that I mentioned for the importation, because you have to obtain a certification from, as I said before, from Canadian Seed Institute, and obtain several other licenses. It is all possible. You can do it. If you need assistance, I will be more than happy to help you out. I discourage you also to set up industrial hemp viability testing laboratory, and discourage you from production of derivatives from this crop. Okay, poll number 2. It was very intense, few slides. So let's do poll number 2. Are you interested in growing industrial hemp for grain, fiber, or both? Please provide your answers. Okay. We're having so far very interesting results. Are you still polling? Are you still providing your answers? Okay, some people are still working. Numbers are changing. It's not very close race though, but it's oh, we have a winner. Lisa, can we announce a winner? Yes, the winner is both. We have one person, well, few people who want to, sorry, let me put this way, 14% who want to grow for the grain. Yes, indeed. As I said, hemp is presently in Canada, 67,000 acres is predominantly grown for the grain. And here on this slide, I am showing a picture that I took in my office. This is my shelf in my office that I feature several hemp products that are available, and they are made as products including everything from hemp milk, hemp oil, hemp hearts, cereals, soap, lip balms, all kinds, power bars, hemp protein, hemp cereal that I have this morning called Holy Crap. I haven't had hemp beer this morning though, but I also indicated that this is what our Canadian hemp seeds are used for. Okay, let's move on. Very important page that you are putting your signatures. And before, as I indicated previously, this page is also meant for you to indicate that you ensure compliance with the industrial hemp regulations, which is a part of Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. and you certify by putting signature in this, on this, it's not even dotted line, on this solid line, you're certifying that all this information that you're providing, it's accurate and it's correct and it's complete. Okay. This bullet point number 2 refers to application on behalf of corporation. We dismiss this case. But if you are still willing to do so, you're certifying that all this information regarding corporation, cooperative, or partnership are accurate. And here I underlined in red. I have read and understand the security measures required by the industrial hemp regulations. Mind you, once again, please refer and read this industrial hemp regulations. I provided a link on the second slide. Now, very important, put your signature. Quite often people are so excited about just filling up all these previous forms, getting acres and cultivars, they forget to put a signature. Quite often they also forget to put a date of application, and you have to print your name. This is really trivial. However, the Industrial Hemp Office of Controlled Substances with Health Canada says that this is the most common mistake that people make, and application cannot be considered without this signatures. Next box is you're giving consent to publication of your information. You have two options, yes or no, and you have sign. I encourage you to say yes to it. You can withdraw by writing a letter or email or communicating with Health Canada. You can always withdraw this consent, even if you initially say yes. Why I encourage people to say yes? Because you want to know who is out there. You, by saying yes, you're agreeing your email to be public. So other hemp growers can approach you. Other hemp growers you can share experience with growing this novel crop, fairly novel crop. So there's a lot of benefits to you and to others who want to enter this industry. Again, I'm encouraging you to say yes. You can always change your mind by writing to Health Canada. Submission. We're almost getting to the end of this form. Submission. Please submit and complete original application form with the several documents. Original application form. You cannot scan it. You cannot fax it. You can fax it, but they won't be at the office. Won't be considering your application until it's received in a form, hard copy, original copy. Here is prior to this webinar, we distributed both license application form and a guiding document. And this guiding document and this form was developed, as you can see in the bottom of this page, was developed in 2007. And since then, a few things has changed, which is the most important is location of industrial hemp office in Ottawa. So please ignore what is written on the copy that you can extract from the internet. Please use this present address. They moved to greener pastures. No, they moved to Tannis pastures in Ottawa. So please use this address. I will repeat this address in a few slides as well. You don't want your application to be sent to the wrong address. And this license also cautions you that applications are processed on first come, first served basis. I will elaborate on this in few seconds. All mandatory information must be provided to avoid processing of your application. This is also really important. I will mention this in a few minutes as well. And you have to, of course, keep Xerox copy for your records. Again, this email provided in here is accurate. This telephone, on next slides, I will provide you with the most accurate telephone numbers and person who you will be contacting in case of any issues, problems, and questions. Okay, so we are getting to heading to the end. Now, because it's you have few pages, there is a checklist. So Jane Doe checked off box in section number 1. As you might remember that she will be providing criminal record check in a form of Appendix III, and we'll discuss Appendix III momentarily. She also checked off box number in section 2, box indicating that she's providing maps and GPS coordinates as discussed. She also checked off consent to use of land for cultivation by landowner. We'll discuss this in a second in Appendix II. Remember, she indicated on page, if I'm not mistaken, page number 2, that Gregory Peck owns this land that cultivar Alyssa is going to be grown for the fiber. Okay, let me move to the bottom of this page. She provided legal land description and address. And she skipped on all these boxes related to importation, and because she's a young lady, she wants to just try to grow hemp, and she will be selling her fiber and grain to people who to processors or purchasers, and she also will be including in this package original application, again signatures and dates. Without these 2 items, Health Canada won't be considering your application. On page 7 is Appendix I. We are skipping this because this is all this information regarding officers, directors, and partners. If you are applying, if you're applying on behalf of your co-op or other larger organization. Okay. Important appendix number 2. Remember, Gregory Peck is the guy who owns 100 hectares that Jane Doe will be growing hemp for fiber. He is owner of this land. Jane Doe will be growing hemp out there. Gregory Peck is a retired gentleman who is presently spending winter in Florida. This is quite often what really happens. However, Gregory Peck has to sign this document, and the signature has to be original. Gregory Peck cannot sign this document, this appendix number 2, and fax it to Jane. He has to sign it, put in an envelope, and send it directly to Jane. Or the other option is Gregory Peck can sign and date this document and send to Health Canada. However, I talked to Health Canada last week, and they prefer this document to be attached to the entire application package. Okay? And finally, we have appendix number 3. Remember, we're discussing in details consent for criminal record check. You have to put your name, put your signature, date it. So you have to, so Jane Doe did it. However, if you have problems, if you have, if this criminal record check done on your behalf by RCMP is inconclusive, for example, if you had some previous drug offenses, you better go to the RCMP detachment and get a criminal record check done in your presence. And on the bottom of this page is not only Jane Doe, but also Gregory Peck has to do the same thing. He has to sign this form, sign, and send it back, the original, to Jane. And she will include it in the application package. Okay, and this application package has to be sent, and we'll be providing you with this PowerPoint presentation handouts. This is the most current address, excuse me, of industrial hemp section that your application has to be submitted. As I mentioned, your contact in Ottawa is head of industrial hemp section, Beatrice Lee. She will be dealing with you and answering your questions you might have. Her telephone number, the current telephone number, fax number, and email is here. As I mentioned before, I talked to her in person a week ago. I mentioned our webinar, and she is prepared to answer your questions. Okay, this is the last review quiz. Now you cannot provide. It's not a poll; it's a quiz. I want you to type the answers. Question number one. What hemp parts are not regulated by the industrial hemp regulations? Please type your answers. We're looking at your answer.
For the presenter.
Okay. Please type your answers. Anybody remembers what parts of hemp are not regulated by industrial hemp regulations? I'm looking at the screen, and Lisa, is it any?
No one will. Oh, we have.
Okay.
Stocks. Oh, Lori Jo said it's not working. Non-viable seeds.
Excellent, Jeff.
Stocks.
Excellent, Brenda. Okay, we need one more thing, one more item. We have stocks, we have non-viable seeds, and we have fiber. Excellent. Once again, non-viable seeds, not their derivatives, hemp stalks, seedless, leafless, and hemp fiber. Minimal cultivation area for grain or fiber is how many hectares? Looking for answers.
4 hectares.
Excellent.
10 acres. Yeah.
Once again, we've got 4. I asked for hectares. It's 4 hectares or 10 acres. Even if you're a first timer, you cannot go 1 hectare. Okay, and question number 3. Minimal distance of hemp field from school or other facility frequented by the minors is how many meters?
I think we've got everyone.
Yes, finally we got the right answer. 3 people, 4 people answered 1 kilometer. I asked how many meters. It was a tricky question. No, 1,000 meters or 1 kilometer. You got it right. Excellent. Final remarks before we wrap up.
We do have one question from Francie earlier on, looking to identify which cultivar is best for northern Alberta. So she asked about Finola, but is there, are any cultivars specific to adapted for the north?
It depends what you want to grow your hemp for. Cultivar Finola is predominantly grown for the seeds. It's a short stature cultivar. However, in the north is growing really tall, as I learned last Thursday visiting Acreage. So if you want to grow for the grain, yes, Finola is suitable. However, now on the list of approved cultivars, you will find newer cultivars, even more yielding more than Finola. Finola is perfectly fine. If you're thinking about growing your crop for dual purpose, for hemp, for fiber, and for the grain, different cultivars, I can recommend different cultivars. You can send me an email because we have to wrap up fairly shortly. I will be pleased to answer your questions regarding cultivation or selection of cultivars for the north. Okay, so a few final remarks. Don't forget to sign and date application. As I said before, the most common mistake made by the applicants. Apply as soon as possible. You have to, Health Canada accepts application now. As they said, first come, first served basis. Last year, Health Canada received 746 license applications. They have only 2 people. So in your best interest is to start working on your application, gathering all this data, gathering signatures, gathering whatever you need right away.
Okay.
And yes.
We have one more question from Brian asking, do you need special equipment? I've heard some horror stories.
Equipment, I presume you require you're talking about harvesting equipment. Yes, it depends what do you want to grow your hemp for. Information from the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance convention that I attended last week is that newer combines, and I'm talking about farmers who are practicing and growing hemp for grain on thousands of acres. The larger farmer is 8,000 acre. Newer combines can handle, apparently sufficiently enough, they can handle hemp. These horror stories that I've heard, and I'm familiar with, are hopefully past history. Newer combines can handle. On the same note, we have to, as a researchers and developing this industry, we acknowledge that we have to develop better or more optimal harvesting techniques for hemp for grain.
Okay, and we have one more question from Annie. In what zoning is hemp farming classified?
Annie is in Calgary, I presume, right now. Hemp is classified, can be grown as far as north as the Peace Country, and there is a northern advantage to that, particularly as far as fiber is biomass and fiber is concerned. From my last visit in Acreage, I learned that cultivar finola, that normally it's 3 feet tall in southern Alberta, can reach as much as 9 feet in northern Alberta in the Peace Country. So hemp is widely adapted to different zones in the province. And again, selection of cultivar and end use of this crop would greatly depend on where you're growing your crop. So different zones would have different preferences. Growing for the grain is typically happens in southern Alberta because plants don't grow as tall as in the north. This exquisite biomass production and tall plants in the north are due to 20 hours of daylight in July. That is, this areas in the north in the Peace receives up to 20 hours of daylight, while in southern Alberta it's only 15-16 hours the most. Long hours, long daylight is conducive to production, taller plants and production of more biomass.
So we have another question. Should only be grown if a contract for grain is in place before cultivation? So that's more of a comment, I think.
Yes, absolutely. This is I will be getting there in my final remarks. Yes, farmers, you better have somebody who is going, particularly if you're a first timer. Better have your contract in place, and there is very many people who are contract farmers across Alberta to do hemp cultivation. Yes, this is absolutely advisable, and I think that I will be having in my remarks to have contract. You don't want to, particularly again, if you're a first timer, you don't want to produce something that you will be having problems with selling. And by the way, as I said, hemp industry is in the province is flourishing. I don't foresee any problems with selling both, particularly the grain, and recently also the fiber. Okay, so I have two final remarks regarding THC testing. As I mentioned before, since hemp is a licensed crop, you will get, if you refer to a list of approved cultivars, you will see which cultivars have to be tested towards THC. Some cultivars, well established, are exempt from this THC testing. However, those which are not, and the newer cultivars are not, finola is not, for example, you have to have your crop tested for THC. An Office of Controlled Substances will provide you a list of certified samplers and authorized laboratories that you have to send your sample to. And I'm getting quite often questions regarding where to get my seeds from, this pedigree seeds from. List of seed suppliers can be provided by the Canadian Seed Growers Association, and I'm also providing a link to this organization. Okay, poll number 3. Did you find this presentation useful as a first timer? Oh, it's a strong race. Oh, it's a very close race. Very close race. Holy.
So I think that's great, and I just a reminder that this webinar will be available online, and as well the supporting files and documentations are available for downloading, and Jan, of course, is available to answer questions, so please feel free to email him 24/7, and if you're up in the middle of the night, you know, wondering about questions, just send him an email and he will get back to you as soon as he can. And we do think, I'm going to broadcast the results, so because they're positive. And looks like everyone found the presentation useful, and that's really what we were hoping for. And so again, you know, one of the barriers to growing hemp, we hopefully have removed that for you, and you will be able to grow hemp this coming year. So again, please pull the information off the sites, have a look at it, get it filled out, and there is a little bit of homework to do. And again, if you have questions or can't remember things, just go back through the webinar and through the PDF files that Jan has posted, and that will really get you on your way. And I want to thank everyone for participating.
Thank you.
And thank Jan for coming in and presenting. And really, that is about it. So again, thank you. And on behalf of us, Enterprise and Advanced Education, Alberta Agriculture, the Biomaterials Development Center,
Alberta Innovates Technology Futures,
Alberta
of course.
Innovates Technology, and who else have we missed? I think we've got everyone now.
Yes.
And so again, anyways, we're very excited to look at supporting this industry. And thanks again for participating in our webinar.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.